The parade that will kick this thing off will happen at 10:30 on Labor Day, September 1st.
Oh, okay.
And it will be a parade to remember. It's not like any other parade you've ever seen. I guess the closest would be the 4th of July parade, but it will be more of, like the era with the 1930s, 1920s, 30s, up to 41 vehicles in the parade.
Okay.
We have a Wildcat being towed up here from the Air Zoo, an airplane, a World War II airplane that will be pulled in the parade.
Okay.
It's going to kind of blow your mind a little bit.
The opinions expressed in the following program are those of the producer and not necessarily those of WKTV Community Media.
Hello, West Michigan. This is Grand Tap Media Business TV. My name is Pamela Keim, your host. The spirit of the show is to introduce West Michigan to all the businesses, nonprofits, individuals that can help us thrive in our lives. We have a very special guest today. We are going to be talking about an event that is going to be happening in September. And you might have already seen some of this stuff on other media shows, or you might hear it from your friends, but this is something that everyone needs to get involved and be part of and come out and support. This is going to be a celebration of the greatest generation. This is the World War II vets that won the war for us, that we should be so grateful for, but it's the greatest generation celebration honoring the 80th anniversary of the end of World War II. And we have a very special guest. It's Brian Hauenstein is going to be here today, and he is going to tell us all about it, what's going to be happening, and how you can get involved. So I want to welcome Brian to the show.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Pam.
It's a pleasure to have you on my show. You were on last year. You were talking about your business, and we
Yes.
might be able to talk a little bit about this, but we heard about what was happening, and then we reached out to you, and I'm like, what better person to talk about what the event is going to be about and why we should be celebrating it. And really, when I found out when they came back, the World War II vets, that winning the war, we never even had a huge celebration.
That's
we
right.
didn't even have a parade.
That's right.
And now it's 80 years later, and
Yeah.
there's so many veterans that are gone now. And those stories we're losing our World War II vets by the day. And I know that many of that you and I know that are already gone. So talk about
you know, because we were just having a conversation on the side about this, but back in 2020, when COVID was happening, we made a decision early that year before COVID to have the 75th anniversary celebration. And it turned out that we were the largest celebration in the nation, only second to Pearl Harbor. But we were the largest in the 48 contiguous states. And obviously a lot of that had to do with the fact that we were in a COVID period.
Right.
We were very limited on what we could do. We had Chris Wallace in virtually. We had a flyover downtown, and that was pretty much the only thing that we could do,
exactly.
given all of the social distancing. We haven't heard that in a while, have we?
I know it, and don't
That
want to
way,
hear
yeah,
it.
yeah,
We just
yeah.
have to say 2020, and everybody goes.
So,
we have that.
So at the beginning of the year, we had grand plans for a parade, for flyovers, for all sorts of speakers, and we could not do it. And so Deputy Director of the Gerald R. Ford Presidential Museum approached me several months ago, actually almost a year ago now, and said, Brian, do you want to bring this thing back to life in the 80th anniversary? And I said, let's do it.
That's exactly it.
And this is our last opportunity because, as you know, we were just talking about this, they're 98 years plus. If they were 18 at the end of the war, they would have to be, 98 years plus
exactly
old now. And let me just remind you that the greatest generation is not just limited to those that fought in the war. It is everyone that was 18 or older is included.
Share
in
with
that.
us, and I see your grandfather here, how you've been involved. You have always been involved with the World War II generation and with the gratitude because of your grandfather. Can you share a little bit how
Well,
the whole family
it may seem
did?
that way, but my grandfather passed in 2016, and I felt like I need to start carrying the torch for him because he was bigger than life, as you know, here in Grand Rapids.
Well, you're going to have to share with some of my audience.
Okay,
Why
well.
was your grandfather bigger than life? Because when I
Okay.
heard the story, I'm like,
Yeah.
are you really?
Yeah, yeah. You know, it's interesting. I was meeting with Susan Bales Ford, President Ford's daughter this morning, and introduced myself. And she said, "Oh, I know who you are." She says, "Boy, do you have big shoes to fill."
I know.
And I thought, this is coming from the daughter of a president of the United States.
Well, and
She's not kidding.
I'm sure your dad's
Yeah.
like, yeah, you can take this, because he had to live with your grandfather.
Yeah.
You know, so grandsons are
Yeah.
a little bit different
That's
than
right.
sons, and you could carry the torch. So, could you just share once again
Sure.
how your father contributed to the winning?
Grandfather.
I'm sorry.
I get
You're
that
right.
all the time. I get
And
that all
I've
the
done
time.
that before.
Yeah.
And when you say that, your grandfather
Well,
helped.
he
win
looks
with-
so young, and I look so old, so maybe that's why. So Ralph Hauenstein was an editor of the Grand Rapids Herald here in Grand Rapids in the 30s, and he ended up going into the CCC, the Civil Conservation Corps, in the late 30s, because he could see the storms of war coming to the United States at some point, and he felt like he had enough forethought to think, I've got to go in, not as an enlisted man, but as an officer. And so he went and got the training, the military training, and then sure enough, just as war was looming, the U.S. Army called him up and asked him to serve in Fort Sheridan as their PR guy. And so, there was a big issue with PR at the end of World War I, and our military was kind of failing, it was very weak, and so he came in to do that. Then they shipped him off to Iceland, where he became aide de camp, and they sort of took over for British patrols there, making sure that the Germans were not going to be jumping their way across the Atlantic into the United States territory. So along the trail here leading up to World War II, he recovered a code book that they had shot down from a German plane, brought it to Bletchley Park. Just saw a documentary. They were talking about this American soldier brought this book to us that had just been shot down in Iceland, and it still had blood in it. They were referring to him
Oh my gosh.
bringing this code book. And ultimately, when we were engaged in World War II along with the British and the other Allied nations, his rank became colonel, and he was chief of intelligence branch of the European Theater of Operations under the direction of Dwight D. Eisenhower. So he and Dwight would
We're
meet
close.
would meet daily and discuss strategic movements in regards to deception plots and that sort of thing. And of course, he was involved with the D-Day invasion. So there's a lot more to be said about Colonel Ralph Hauenstein and his post-war involvement in Washington and the development of the CIA with Wild Bill Donovan, but I'll leave that for another day.
Right. But you didn't, to share with everybody, you really didn't, did you know?
I did not know any of this as a kid. It was my grandfather fought in World War II, like a lot of
A lot
a
of veterans.
lot of
men
veterans,
did.
and I think he wanted it that way. He was just another guy, he felt, most of his life, just contributing to an effort that the greatest generation collectively contributed to make the world a safer place and a world free of tyranny. So,
Exactly, and that's what they were doing. But for people that might see your grandfather's name on organizations and foundations and stuff like that,
Yeah.
in buildings, they might say, "Who is this?" And to know
Yeah.
that this backstory
Right.
of why his name is so, famous.
Yeah.
Like when I say your name, and people are like, "You do know?" I go, "Yeah, I know his grandson."
Mm-hmm.
Right. So a lot of people that are in the military world do know who you are.
They do, absolutely.
In Grand Rapids,
Yep.
and we're honored that he came from Grand Rapids.
Yes.
And he did such an amazing thing that helped. I mean, many people did help win the war, but this did break the code.
Yeah.
Kind of helped the military did figure out.
That's right. Well, it wasn't,
The
as he
German
said,
code.
it was just a collective effort, right? I mean, he was hand-delivering a code book that
They
helped
figured it.
Bletchley Park sort of figure out the code breaking and how to break the Enigma machine. And
Well, it's always
figure
a
out
little
that.
part. It's always
Yeah.
something really small,
it's
right?
something small, right? Exactly.
that somebody contributed to
That's
that
right.
it would have never happened.
It was a team of many, many, many people. Yeah.
And so that is why you are been part of this event that's coming up, the Greatest Generation. celebration and honoring the 80th anniversary. I just can't believe it's 80 years already.
Yeah.
All right, so tell us a little bit about what that's going to be happening here.
Well, it's important, I'll say, for a couple key reasons. First of all, I mentioned this is kind of our last opportunity while a few of them are still with us to honor them. But the key thing behind all that is we want to create this learning opportunity, if you will, for our youngest generation, right? The Boy Scouts, the Girl Scouts, the Daughters of the American Revolution, these young people that really don't know much about World War II. Why is it an important part of our history?
Exactly.
What were the sacrifices made? So when my grandfather was just a young boy, he escorted a Civil War veteran around Grand Rapids. And that stuck with him throughout his lifetime. He remembered this sacrifice that this man had made, and it became a part of who he was. And so we're trying to recreate that in this youngest generation.
Okay. So how do we
Yeah.
never forget, right? I mean, we can't even my husband says, you're only as good as your last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
He used to say that to me, and I do believe sometimes it's like we're so quick to move on to the next thing. But this is amazing, all the heroes that came home, people that really didn't even want to be recognized. They just wanted to get on with their life.
That's right.
And maybe that's why they didn't really insist on putting together a parade and all that kind of stuff. I just want to get home. I
Right.
just want to start my family, get married the girl from high school, and start my life. And I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
I just want to. We won. Let's go.
Yeah, they didn't want to talk about it, and so at the dinner table, we were sitting there with our fathers, our grandfathers, who had been through this horrific thing. They didn't want to talk about it, but we knew that they made a great sacrifice because it was learned in our schools, in our textbooks. We were having conversations at the dinner table about it, but I think we've kind of lost that second part and the first part. They're no longer at the table, right? Because we're losing them so quickly.
Wow.
And so where does this conversation exist? We're sort of, because there's so much history to learn in school, we're losing that piece of it as well.
Well, and
the
I
time.
think too, there's a lack of, I will experience myself, of leaders. And my husband, who knows so much about military stuff, because his father fought in World War II, and his uncle was under Patton.
Yeah.
So and he started sharing towards the end of his life all the stuff that went on there. He was at the Battle of the Bulge. It was awful.
Wow.
Some of the things he experienced, he came back, and he was so brilliant, but he just became a bus driver. Because
Yeah.
of the stress, and he became a city bus driver.
Yeah.
And he just said, that's all I want to do.
Yeah.
Is not, but their courage, such as your grandfather's every day. I mean, just when you hear these stories, it's almost like I feel more courageous.
Yeah.
I want to be more courageous.
That's right.
Because of the sacrifice and the gratitude
Yeah.
of what people. And we all see World War II movies or whatever. I don't know how many times I saw Private Ryan or whatever.
Yeah.
But I know that was just a story. But all the men that never came home.
Yeah.
And these men saw that daily, that they could be
And you
next
can
to
understand why a young kid, 16, 17 even, wanted to be involved with this, because it was so patriotic. They're saving their families, they're saving their nation by fighting.
How do we get how do we do that with this generation, to share? What some ideas do you have that we could tell these stories? Do they documentaries? I don't know. I just find that they don't know.
There's absolutely tons and tons of content out there if they want to seek it out, right? I think that the U.S. military is doing a much better job these days, but any ways that you can integrate in those younger curriculums an introduction into the military and what the military is all about. It's creating better people. It's not just creating
Correct.
a fighting force. These are people that come out, vertical and with manners and with respect for other people.
Exactly.
And so it's just so important for us to continue that component.
Well, you're going to have some other people that wasn't in military but helped.
Yes.
You know,
The Rosie the Riveters will be here. The reenactors, obviously. The last Rosie, I think, died just a few months ago.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
But reenactors from like the Willow Run area where many Rosies were working on planes, right? We have the west side of the state, Rosie the Riveters. So they all dress up like, they look like Rosies.
They're at the Coast Guard Festival.
Yeah,
See them?
exactly.
Yes.
So they'll be in the parade as well. The Boy Scouts, the Girl Scouts, Daughters of
Okay.
the American Revolution, all of these patriotic groups. The parade that will kick this thing off will happen at 10:30 on Labor Day, September 1st.
Oh, okay.
And it will be a parade to remember. It's not like any other parade you've ever seen. I guess the closest would be the 4th of July parade, but it will be more of, like the era with the 1930s, 1920s, 30s, up to 41 vehicles in the parade.
Okay.
We have a Wildcat being towed up here from the Air Zoo, an airplane, a World War II airplane that will be pulled in the parade.
Okay.
It's going to kind of blow your mind a little bit what you see in this parade as compared to other, the city of Grand Rapids, God bless them, asked us if we want the fire department and the police, and I love the fire and the police and what they do, but we said we want this to be vintage, a vintage look. So
basically.
I recently went to a parade and there was a Cedar Springs fire truck there from the 1920s. I said, that's what we're looking for. Can you get that in the parade? They said, yes. So
and
that's
you are going to, you have found some military World War II vets that will be placed in some of these cars.
Yeah, so we have a couple of trolleys that I've rented from the Grand Rapids Limo Company. I think you've seen them drive around town. It's kind of funny when they're going 60, 70 miles an hour down the highway, but we're going to have them at a much slower pace, and we'll put our greatest generation folks in those trolleys. And so when you see those trolleys, you know that there's a real treasure being carried.
And it's going to be all of the military, is it going to be like the Navy, everybody going to be part, or is it just?
Any military representation that we can find from 1945 will be in the parade, but you'll see your American Legions and VFWs and those sorts of folks come out. So there'll be a little bit more modern, wear. It's not going to be all World War II.
And are you looking for? Do you have everything you need?
We are looking for more participants in the parade. If you have a vintage, 1930s vehicle, 20s, early 40s vehicle, and you would like to put that in the parade, please contact us. Do what you can to reach out to us. And if you've got other ideas about how to represent, I've had people even reach out to me with vintage 1930s and 40s hats. Do you need these, 30 hats? And we dialogue that and figure that out. But any ideas that you have, we're open to making this the best possible parade.
And then you're going to have signs like people that can.
Yeah, these are tribute boards. So everybody that has somebody that they know that was either in World War II or a member of the Greatest Generation can have one of these boards made up. Visit our website, ggcelebration.org, and at the bottom of that page you can see you donate $100, you can have one of these chloroplasts, so it's kind of weatherproof, and it's got handles on the back so they can carry it in the parade, and they can keep that as a memento at the end of the parade.
So I was thinking about that for maybe David's dad.
Yeah.
And then his mother, she said, we had a conversation, she's passed now, and I go, what was it like with World War II, whatever? Were you guys, scared, or, you can imagine, you might have fear. And I go, what was your thought? She goes, and she said, everyone's thought, we had to win.
Yeah.
That's all he thought about.
Right.
We have to win.
Yep.
And so, and David remembers as a kid going down the street when he was, all the people that had, military that lost a son in World War II. So you had all these, widows, and they lost their husband or they lost just the son, and you just knew when you went by their home that they sacrificed their son. And so, anyways, but his mom said that was our only thought. There was no, we couldn't lose.
Right.
And that's how.
You're just not in to play the game. You are there to win.
Right, and we've had some military conflict, wars, Vietnam. We were never in that position where we had to win no matter what.
Right.
But they knew.
Yeah.
And I think that's why they work so much together, which you wish you would, not that you want a war, but you know what I mean? Have
Right.
that unity
Right.
where
Right.
everybody.
If we could create that unity without war, it would be really something.
I know.
Yeah.
All right, so what's else is going on? It's going to be a whole week.
So yeah, after the parade at noon on that same day, we will have 6 of the hooligan flight team, which are all World War II era aircraft, fighter planes, and 2 from Willow Run, which is the Michigan Flight Museum today.
Okay.
A C-47 and a B-25 flying downtown. So we'll have, they're going to do multiple passes. We'll have them over the Capitol, then Grand Rapids, Muskegon, Kalamazoo. So keep your eyes to the skies.
We will be. It will be.
Yeah.
We plan on attending some of those activities or events, but you'll be looking over, going, this is kind of cool.
Yeah, that's right.
But with the world the way it is, it's like, those are ours, right?
Yeah. Yeah, right.
On that one. All right, and you have something happening at the Whitecaps?
Yeah, the following day at the Whitecaps, we're sort of, I don't know if they call it a takeover, but it'll be very much focused on World War II veterans. We have a World War II veteran that will be throwing out the first pitch, and I'll leave that to be announced that evening.
Oh, cool. Okay.
And just many, we'll have the Michigan Heroes Museum there with a table.
That one's
We'll
really
have,
great.
I
Yeah.
think we're going to have the Wildcat on display out front, along with a Gilmore car from the era. So just first 1,000 people into the park get a cap that commemorates with the Greatest Generation logo.
First
this one.
1,000?
Yep.
Oh, wow, okay.
So, and Meyer is a key sponsor to that event, so there'll be a Meyer logo and I forget what's on the other, Whitecaps, I think, on the other side.
Yeah.
So, so that's going on that evening, and simultaneously, we have a convocation service at the Cathedral of St. Andrew that will be led by the Bishop Wolkowiak, and Rabbi Lewis, and a couple of other chaplains, Army chaplains.
Okay, and this
So-
is going to be down at the cathedral.
Down at the
right?
cathedral,
But it'll be other besides the
open to the
bishop,
public.
Open up to the public.
Yep.
And what is it going to be praying for? What?
Yeah, praying for our greatest generation.
And other, yeah.
May they rest in peace, right?
And give them just
And
I
give-
think
show 'em
gratitude,
gratitude.
for
Yep.
winning the war and all that they sacrificed. That sometimes we do see it sometimes in movies. I love World War II movies, actually.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
do.
Yeah,
Because
there's
you know
so
what?
many.
I think because we know we won.
Yeah.
Right? I don't
Right.
feel always the same way at other war, World War I, II,
Yeah.
but I don't think they got a great celebration when they came home
Well,
either.
we didn't know we were done in World War I,
Yeah.
right?
What's-
I suppose it really didn't feel finished, but
I think, but I do think that people are searching to help have us remember. Is that what
Yeah.
do you hear that when you're out there? What
Yeah.
do you hear when you're out there?
well, we hear what we feel, and that is that our remembrance of wars gone by tend to wane over time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And World War II is like the Civil War and World War
know.
I. It doesn't. It's not as much part of our lives today as time goes on, right? My kids, they don't think anything of it,
No.
and
I
they
know.
just, unless someone's there to talk about with them repeatedly,
But when
they're
you
more
share,
interested in
when they
this.
share, when you share, the history in your family, I mean, our people are like, what are their response? Like, I
Yeah.
had no idea.
Certain people are just kind of blown away by what he did and what everyone in that era did to
Exactly.
save the world, right?
Is there anything? Can you just share a little bit with some of the sponsors that are? Gonna
Oh my
be,
gosh, we have so many. There's
I know you
there's
said Meyer.
30, and our partners are the City of Grand Rapids, the Gerald R. Ford Presidential Library and Museum and Foundation, the Hauenstein Center at Grand Valley State University,
Okay.
Kalamazoo Air Zoo.
Oh yeah, they're good.
So a lot of great partner organizations. Meyer is a huge sponsor. My organization and many others. AARP just came on last Friday. So
Okay.
I mean, we just have so many
other people. That is wonderful. And then you're still looking for veterans, World War II veterans. We know they're
Yes.
89.
98.
98, right?
Yeah.
98 years old. So if you are sitting in church and I know people that say they have some in their churches.
And we will make sure we are partnering with Ride Your Way to get them there. So if you're
Okay.
concerned about, how do I get them down there for this event, maybe they're in a wheelchair, or they just have a hard time getting around, Ride Your Way will take care of them, get them down to the Ford. We'll have a trolley at the Ford, and they'll take them to the beginning of the parade, and then, full cycle.
Okay.
We'll feed them after the parade. We're going to have a post-parade party for everyone that's in the parade, participating in the parade. Food, and of course the flyover will happen then. And then, we haven't talked about this, but we have several days of speakers.
Yeah.
We've got, the same day on the 2nd as the Whitecaps at noon at the JW Marriott, open to the public, is Rick Atkinson, a world-renowned World War II author. I was watching a History Channel not too long ago, or history programs on World War II, and saw a lot of him on there. So he is very well known for his points of view on that. Susan Eisenhower, the granddaughter of Dwight D. Eisenhower, will be here on the 3rd at the Ford Museum. We have Garrett Graff that will be at the Hauenstein Center, and the day before at the library in Ann Arbor.
Okay.
All well-known World War II authors. Sir Anthony Beaver, you mentioned him. He'll be live streamed in from London. He is perhaps the most well-known and respected World War II author in the world. He didn't get his knighthood for nothing, right?
I know.
Yeah.
Okay, so is there anything else that we didn't speak about that you'd like to share?
Plenty. So we have a 3-day film festival that will be taking place at Celebration Cinema Studio Park downtown.
Okay.
We're going to bring to life movies on World War II throughout the ages, so Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Check ggcelebration.org for the lineup on that, the timing and the movies. But it's kind of like, during World War II all the way through sort of Flags of Our Fathers, which was, I think, in the early 2000s, that one was
And
made.
all this is free events?
It's all free to the public with the exception of the Whitecaps.
Okay.
There will be a big celebration at the Air Zoo on Saturday.
Okay.
Saturday evening. That
Kalamazoo?
one,
Yeah.
there'll be a price to get in there. I think it's something like $50, but you get fed and you get to climb in World War II airplanes. I mean, when do you have a chance to do that?
Yeah, really. That would be a
right?
lot of fun. Yeah.
They'll have dancers, singers. It's going to feel like a victory ball is really what it's going to feel like.
Are you going to be there?
I will be there.
Okay.
Yes,
all right.
I will
Well,
not
say
be
hi to-
I would not be dancing or singing.
All right, well, say hi to Troy, I'm sure.
Yeah, Troy's
He's
awesome.
He is awesome.
Yeah.
He is so great. Okay, so you already mentioned before, but once again, mention where they can find more information on social
Yep.
media for sure.
Social media, be sure to go out to Greatest Generation Celebration on Facebook and like us. We're getting many thousands of hits right now since we kind of launched this thing this last week. So do that, and then also go to ggcelebration.org and check out our website where we continue to update and post, new times, new events. So just stay tuned in those two ways, and you'll be well on your way to having a really memorable time for that week.
Alrighty.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Brian, for
Yeah,
sharing
you're
all
very
that
welcome. Thank
information.
you.
Hauenstein for being here. And this is Pamela Keim from Grand Tap Media. Check this out. You don't want to miss it starting in September. So everybody have a great day. Take you next time.